Okay, today we're going to talk about something that's obviously very important, not just in every aspect of our life, but also for those amongst us who are going to attempt to do something which is potentially the hardest thing they've done in their life at this point, but also something that enables us to be able to persevere through some of the hardest things that are potentially going to be imposed upon us, whether we're ready or not, or whether we like it or not. The thing we're going to talk about today is mental strength. Now, before I talk about that, we need to put mental strength into context. So the context for all our content, in fact, for everything we do in our social media, on the websites, training in the gym, is contribution, specifically increasing capacity to make more meaningful contributions in as many domains as possible. Now, whether it be in our personal lives at home or in our free time, or at work in our professional lives, our main goal is to build capacity and capability to increase our ability to contribute in all areas. Now, meaningful contribution strikes a balance between working hard at continuous self-improvement and selflessness. In order for us to increase our levels of capability to contribute selflessly, we need to spend some time and effort on ourselves to develop more skills and capacity for more work. The more output at a higher quality for a longer duration leads to more meaningful contribution. The more we develop our personal and professional skills, then the more competent we become in both areas. So contribution is the main driver for all our efforts. If we can draw a direct line or a golden thread from what we are doing right now to meaningful contribution to our family, friends, team, or community, then if you can't do that, then you should question whether this activity is necessary or not. In special forces, contribution is absolutely critical because candidates are selected for their ability to meaningfully contribute in the most adverse conditions. But you need to know the rules of that game to contribute. Then if you're observant of those rules, then you increase your chance of success. So you contribute according to the rules. I remember one night in the middle of the night, about 3/4 of the way through selection, and me and one of the boys that was in my section were digging a pit with our spoons, something menial like that. My mate goes to me, "Nick, I'm going to pull off selection." I said, "What do you mean pull off? Why?" He said that I don't think I'm doing very well. I said, "How do you know? They haven't told you that. In fact, they haven't given you any feedback at all. What makes you think that you're not doing well?" He said, "I feel like I'm slowing everyone down. I'm finding it hard to think clearly, and I don't think I'm fit enough to finish the course or get to the end." Now, keep in mind, we had less than 5 days to go before the end of the course. I tried to convince him to stay, telling him that he's so close to the end, why don't you just stay and see how it goes? I also told him that I thought that I was slowing the team down at one stage. Besides, you can't be good at everything all the time. And from my perspective, I thought he was doing really well. As the night dragged on, we went on with different tasks, and he quietly withdrew at some point before sunrise. The key thing about that experience that stuck in my head was the stark difference in internal conversations we had with ourselves. The narrative he held in his head was different to the tone of the narrative that I held in my head, completely different, which was interesting because we were around the same age. We were both from Queensland originally. He was from Recon 1RR and I was from Recon 4RR. So we had very much the same background and the same training. The only potential difference was that I had done commando selection, whereas I wasn't sure whether he had attempted selection before that. But the difference in our perspective and the internal conversations we had meant the difference between continuing on the course and ultimately being selected or not. Now, being able to navigate the ambiguity of the situation was the issue. He let the list of things he saw on the negative side of the ledger outweigh the list on the positive side. This is one of the rules. Manage your risk, but focus on the positives. But if you read the rules of the game in its most basic form, then you would have been able to see the most logical path. Not knowing that I'm doing well or doing poorly, or whether I'm good enough for the SAS or not, doesn't matter. The rules of the game stated I need to be there on the last day. It's that simple. At least if you finish, then it's up to the powers that be whether you're picked to join the unit or not. The problem was doubt had crept in and was causing friction, clouding reasonable and logical thought. The ambiguity of the outcome of the situation imposes a lot of other variables which we have to individually navigate. Every time you're confronted with an uncertain outcome, you have to manage that with the physical load, fatigue, hunger, pain, and the all-round levels of discomfort. Every time you deal with it, you could be in a more uncomfortable state or in more pain. So the character or tone of the situation can become more and more negative. Because you're in a chronic state of discomfort, you can see how easy it would be to develop a negative bias for your situation. And the tendency for a lot of people is to allow this to affect their decisions because it wasn't identified and dealt with before it ultimately took control to the point he made the decision to withdraw. Now, the thing about mental resilience or mental strength is the ability to see the current situation for what it is, to have the clarity of thought where you compartmentalize the emotions you experience as a result of your discomfort and uncertainty and look through it to see the real factors at play. Then make a critical assessment of your true situation. To disassociate yourself from your discomfort is a large part of the mental aspect of resilience. The ability to see the high-level personal benefits of persevering through the situation and having confidence in your ability to prevail is the spiritual aspect of resilience. Having the hope that you will be selected and having the trust and faith in yourself that you are putting your best foot forward is critical for all aspects of our lives. So objectively speaking, the rules of selection state that 1, you won't die doing this. That's not what the challenge is about. 2, you're not expected to do anything that hasn't been done countless times before. 3, many men just like you have finished this course. Some of them are potentially less prepared than you are. 4, it's like a 3-week job interview. All they're expecting is that you give a true account of yourself at every opportunity in every challenge. 5, your mind will want to quit well before your body risks any level of permanent injury or illness. 6, silent running is a tool to assess the quality of your intrinsic conversations. You have to find the positive reasons to stay and persevere. Manage your risk, but focus on the positives. 7, if you're serious about training for war, then a 3-week course shouldn't be enough to make you quit. War will be much harder and longer. 8, whether you're prepared well enough or not, it doesn't matter now. You're here now, so play the cards you've been dealt. 9, you don't have to win anything. There will always be a bigger dog in the room. There will always be someone better. You just have to stick to your own game plan. 10, you just have to finish to give yourself any chance of being selected. So it's relatively simple, but we read too much into it and unnecessarily complicate it. Just as you have rules to your favorite sport or safety rules for your workplace, there are rules for every activity we do as humans. The thing is that we need to be able to ascertain which rules appropriately apply to the things we are doing in order to maximize our ability to contribute to that activity. If you don't ascertain the correct rules, you can fail. You can put yourself out of the game. So your ability to keep things simple, ascertain and follow the rules, understand the play, recognize the patterns, and leverage the patterns is the key to success. The best way to do this is to keep things simple. You need to keep your mental bandwidth open, and this will free up brain space to observe, process, decide, and act appropriately and make better decisions. If you couple bandwidth with the ability to simulate, retain, and replicate information under duress, then you become a high-functioning contributor. Now, to do this, you need to minimize or prevent complications that you yourself add to the situation unnecessarily. By this, I mean we tend to add complications to situations based on personal factors like bias, emotion, level of self-efficacy, and social factors like the fear of looking weak or performance anxiety or the fear of not fitting in. Never forget the reasons you're doing the activity, your motivations and your goals. You need to stay goals focused. The most prevalent and potent complicator is fear. That is, fear of failure, danger, pain, harm, or loss. It's potent because it stops us from doing both things that are physically and mentally dangerous, but also prevents us from doing things that help us grow. If you let it prevent you from making you stronger and wiser, then you will not become a better and more meaningful contributor, which is our main driver in life. So if you let fear stop you, then you'll always be a slave to your own fear. But I'll cover this in other videos. So mental strength is the ability to weather the storm of emotion, physical pain, discomfort, and uncertainty, to enable free bandwidth to make robust decisions, take effective action, and efficiently solve problems. Mental strength is the ability to think critically, use logic and reason, and as much data as available to make better decisions. It's the ability to keep the airways clear, to allow for better risk management and risk-taking decisions. It's the ability to see the problem from a more objective perspective, to make the most of any situation, no matter how dire it is. But in the event that there will be some level of unavoidable loss, pain, harm, or failure, it's also the ability to grit your teeth, lean in, fight through the pain, and get on with it. There is a point, however, when the situation is so horrible and dire that the only good outcome you can hope for is just to survive. Especially in situations like this, your mental strength leans heavily on the other pillars of resilience, like your spiritual, emotional, and physical resilience. Examples of this can be taken from the experiences of Holocaust survivors and the diaries of prisoners of war. The horrors they face can give us insight into our own potential if we learn to cultivate their traits at some level, regardless of the level of adversity we face now. The qualities of mental strength can be forged in our everyday life. It starts with building self-discipline and getting control of your life, your finances, and your relationships. This helps you with managing your perception of your life by generalizing about your life with a positive bias. Taking on adversity is much easier if you're coming at it from a positive bias rather than a negative one. By showing gratitude, you help build this bias. Look for the little things that you usually only become cognizant of when you don't have them anymore. You only have to travel overseas and see how other people live to see what we have to be grateful for. Practicing gratitude helps us default our perspective to see the positives and gives them more influence when we are faced by adversity. You also need to increase your mental and physical capacities or capabilities by reading and learning from quality sources and training with quality people. But most importantly, mental strength comes from welcoming the chance to test yourself at every opportunity, from overstretching yourself from time to time, but regularly. By subjecting yourself to challenges and little crucibles, you can test your mental strength and use your experiences to make you bigger, better, faster, stronger, and wiser. We can test our mental strength and use the lessons learned to build more mental strength, remembering all the time that by developing our mental strength, we increase our ability to meaningfully contribute to ourselves, our family, our team, and our community. Accepting the responsibility of making meaningful contributions to the people you love and respect, and holding yourself accountable for your actions and your contributions is a very powerful motivator.